Wade's focus wavered, a dangerous flicker in his concentration. The adventurer system offered a lifeline to those struggling. It provided free training and even fostered a public image. Most importantly, trainees received free breakfast and lunch. That's why Wade left his drunken father behind the moment he turned 15 to become an adventurer. Fragn shouted at Wade, demanding to know how he'd afford his own drinks if Wade didn't work. A sign declared no entry beyond this point for non-affiliated personnel. Fragn sneered, telling Wade he deserved it. Fragn spotted Ice, exclaiming, "Ah, isn't that Ice-chan?" Wade explained his desire to become strong enough to protect himself while traveling, leading him to pursue adventuring. Fragn scoffed, telling Wade he still lacked spirit and would never make it as an adventurer at this rate. Fragn remarked that even a girl like Ice was an adventurer. He mused that Ice's background couldn't be bad, questioning why she chose this path. Fragn dismissed the thought, stating it was none of his business. Wade reflected that he had become an apprentice adventurer. Fragn yelled, "Run!" Fragn lectured them that becoming an adventurer meant going on adventures and risking their lives, so they needed to build stamina first. He urged them to run as if their lives depended on it. Fragn declared that training was not easy, but they could do it. Wade felt grateful for the full meal he had just finished. He urged his friends eat. He understood that becoming an adventurer meant risking his life on adventures. Wade insisted they eat as if their lives depended on it. Clay groaned, unable to eat another bite, his stomach feeling like it would rip apart. Ice commented on Clay's predicament, calling him poor thing. Thanks to their rigorous training, Wade noticed a significant change in himself. His body, once skinny from the constant manipulation of his mana, his strength had grown steadily. One ordinary day, Wade's training was interrupted. A voice called out, "Hey." Wade eyed the dungeon entrance, confirming his suspicions about the looming challenge. Clay nodded in agreement, acknowledging the difficult task ahead. Ice excitedly announced she had finally become a mage. Clay cheered for Ice, impressed by her accomplishment. Clay marveled at Ice's powerful new magic, boasting he'd immediately reach Silver Sword rank. He explained that sword adventurers were mercenaries managed by the Adventurers Guild, with Silver being a high rank. Clay then lamented that they were the most pathetic rookie adventurers. Even so, Fragn appeared, mockingly commenting on Wade's calm demeanor, amidst everyone else's panic. Wade admitted he wasn't calm, but rather terrified. He confessed his fear that all his past efforts might be wasted because of the magic he received. Wade then yelled, envious of Fragn's carefree attitude. Fragn shoved Wade, spitting, "Don't mess with me, Wald." Ice stepped between them, shielding Wade and retorting, "You're getting way too full of yourself, French." Clay put a reassuring hand on Wade's shoulder, telling him, "Don't be scared." Fragn glared at Wade, his voice tight with annoyance. "You seriously annoy me. You're always acting all calm, no matter the situation." An instructor barked, "Line up." Wade greeted the instructor respectfully. "Good morning, sir." The instructor announced, "Listen up. There's a very specific reason I called you all here today. We're going to start the magic bestowal ceremony." He continued, "When your name is called, enter the room. As for the order..." The instructor called out, "Train, you're up first," and Train eagerly responded, "Yes, sir." Train excitedly declared to his friends, "Listen up. I did it, guys. I've got fire magic. I'm standing at the door to become a hero." The instructor explained, fire magic is an extremely popular magic. It excels in offensive power and has great versatility. He might actually become a candidate for the Silver Sword. The instructor then called, "Next, Wade." Wade listened intently as the shopkeeper explained the different types of magic available. The shopkeeper noted that inheriting flame magic, like Train had, was an incredibly fortunate outcome. He continued, describing water magic for healing, earth magic for defense, and wind magic for high mobility as popular choices. Elemental magic such as fire, water, earth, and wind were considered the most advantageous picks. Conversely, magic types that deviated from these were generally viewed as failures. The shopkeeper advised that aspiring adventurers should hope to manifest one of these lucky magic types. He then pointed to Wade, stating that the magic which had manifested in him was called Hiroku. The shopkeeper explained that Hiroku was known as one of the lowest-ranked magic types, a duo that only slowed the user's own movements. The shopkeeper dismissed it as slowpoke magic, declaring it the worst possible magic. Wade shook his head, unwilling to accept such a final judgment. He argued that its effectiveness depended entirely on the user, and he wouldn't know its true potential without trying. Wade declared he couldn't give up now, then activated his first spell, Wade Up. Wade stared, his eyes wide with disbelief at the scene before him. He muttered that this had to be some kind of terrible joke. Fragn's voice boomed, relishing Wade's shocked expression. Wade cursed the magic gacha system, calling it incredibly cruel. Ice tilted her head, asking Wade what this gacha even was. Wade's thoughts drifted to his reincarnation into this different world. He admitted that the reality of it still didn't quite sink in. Wade pondered his Juryoku magic, questioning the very nature of its power. Wade felt his movements slowing, a sensation he attributed to gravity magic and some unusual law of physics. Wade decided it was time to test his new abilities. He knew that to truly master magic, he needed to develop a magic circle on his hand to learn new spells. His Juryoku magic had leveled up, Wade mused, like something out of a video game. He realized that with proper use, his magic could make him as strong as a seasoned adventurer. Wade's body grew noticeably heavier. Wade suddenly realized the world might not even have gravity yet, and he'd forgotten the meaning of Juryoku. It was no wonder he couldn't understand it, he admitted to himself. The world lacked even basic education. Wade understood, a consequence of growing up in the slums. His first spell, Wade Up, wasn't exactly ideal, Wade lamented. He recalled attempting his first spell, only to feel his body grow heavier, without understanding the term Jujuryokoku. It was nothing but despair, Wade confessed. "It's a great morning, isn't it?" Fragn called out to Wade. Fragn laughed, reminding Wade that yesterday was their magic bestowal day as honors students. A sneer already forming, Fragn addressed Wade directly. He continued, recalling Wade's abilities with disdain. Fragn mocked Wade's gravity magic, deeming it useless and painfully slow. He taunted Wade, suggesting he'd have to give up on becoming an adventurer entirely. "Hey!" Clay called out to Fragn, interrupting him. Adventuring meant living with death, Clay told Fragn, implying he shouldn't be so easily distracted. Fragn responded with a dismissive grunt. "It's mail time," Clay insisted, telling Fragn to drop the confrontation. Fragn shouted back at Clay. "Our mock battle using magic is scheduled for the day after tomorrow," Fragn reminded Wade. Fragn challenged Wade, daring him to fight. "Are you going to run away?" he taunted. Wade agreed to their duel, set for 2 days hence. Wade scoffed at Fragn's arrogance after he departed. Fragn vowed to crush Wade with fire magic in their upcoming duel. Wade pondered how best to utilize his weight-enhancing magic. He noted the spell could only target himself, not others. Wade considered the strategic implications of self-targeting with the spell. Wade activated his Wade Up magic. Wade grunted as the magic settled in. Wade grunted, pushing through the heavy resistance. He noted that while less flashy, the training was still incredibly tough at this level. Adjusting the output through mental imagery proved a very useful technique. At this pace, he could gradually get used to it, turning it into strength training. Wade canceled the effect. He noticed his movements had suddenly become much faster. This was great! Fragn scoffed, watching Wade's sudden burst of speed. Fragn declared that this weighted training was awesome, and he had started to like gravity magic. Fragn excitedly told Wade to watch this, proclaiming it was his. Fragn unleashed a fireball. Fragn then complained that even with muscle training, he still couldn't complete Ferris fire magic, warning Wade not to break the equipment. The basic fireball spell was fast, making it difficult to dodge and capable of severely injuring or killing a target with a direct hit. The instructor insisted their current power wasn't even their full strength and that their defenses needed reinforcement. He admitted that taking a direct hit from such an attack would leave him with no other option. He stated that he would be forced to abandon his dream of becoming an adventurer if such a thing happened. Oops! Someone bumped into Wade, demanding payment for medical fees and calling him a punk. Fragn taunted Wade, asking if he was already scared and trembling. Fragn boasted about his wine magic, claiming his speed made him impossible to keep up with. Wade called Fragn an unbelievable idiot. Fragn angrily demanded to know what Wade had just called him. Wade up! The instructor scoffed, dismissing the scene as pathetic. Ice asked Wade what had happened, confused by his opponent's sudden collapse. The instructor announced the start of the mock test. He explained that the test would involve a mock battle using their magic abilities. The instructor declared they would begin with the first matchup. Fragn taunted Wade, calling him Mr. Slowpoke Maggie and reminding him of yesterday's events. Someone commented that Fragn's fire magic would likely overpower Wade's slow magic, predicting a one-sided fight. Fragn told Wade to get ready, threatening to destroy him. Wade retorted that Fragn was still trying to act cool. Wade let out a questioning sound. Fragn scoffed dismissively. Fragn declared he was ready to crush Wade and urged him to hurry. Wade confirmed his own readiness. Fragn mocked Wade for carrying a shield, calling him scared and a joke. Wade acknowledged Fragn's fire magic was indeed frightening. Fragn vowed to show Wade true fear. The examiner announced both sides were ready. The examiner shouted, and fight! Wade exclaimed, "Hey, what are you doing?" Wade cried out that the situation was bad. Fragn taunted Wade, calling him a scrambling rat with slowpoke magic. Fragn launched a fireball. Wade thought he could barely block one hit and would be finished if he took another. Wade demanded Fragn stop the cheap tricks and fight him fair and square. Fragn accepted Wade's challenge. Wade clenched his jaw, recognizing Fragn had become terrifyingly faster since their last meeting. He cursed inwardly, admitting his opponent's speed had greatly increased. Fragn called out the name Firelda. Fragn taunted Wade, claiming he was far too slow to keep up. Wade explained how his gravity magic worked. Any object he touched, even for a moment, grew heavier. He remembered discovering this weight increase wasn't limited to himself, while exploring gravity magic and his past life memories. Wade elaborated that even a fleeting touch was enough to trigger his spell's weight increase. Fragn pressed his attack. Wade stressed that a single second of contact was all his magic needed to take effect. Wade cried out in pain. Fragn declared he would nullify Wade's magic. A voice announced a victor, met with gasps of disbelief. Someone marveled that Wade won using a slow image spell, questioning his speed despite his magic. Fragn ground his teeth, muttering a curse. Fragn continued to curse, his frustration palpable. Fragn declared his choice of fire magic, seeing it as his first step toward becoming a hero. Fragn spat, addressing someone with undisguised contempt. Fragn activated a skill called Fireball Wait Up. Fragn screamed as a powerful blast of heat engulfed him, crying out about the intense heat. A faint cry for help echoed, pleading for someone with water magic to assist. Fragn sneered, admitting he wouldn't hold back after being ambushed. Fragn urged the unconscious person not to lose consciousness. Wade recognized Fragn, realizing he was the student who had confronted him earlier. Fragn questioned how slow magic users could defeat flame users, boasting about his top rank. He conceded that slow magic could be potent with enough mastery. Fragn mentioned hearing that Ren was in critical condition. He wondered how slow magic had achieved such a feat. Wade observed that their attitudes had shifted, yet everyone here was an adventurer in training. Fragn stated he would feel more at ease if they never crossed paths again after leaving the training center. Wade mused that things were supposed to go one way, but reality often differed. He recalled the instructions for the practical training: explore the dungeon's shallow levels in parties of 2 to 6 members. The instructor had noted Wade's talent but criticized his communication skills, stressing the need to team up with trusted individuals. Wade reflected on his past life as a corporate slave, where he hadn't cultivated many friendships. He realized that even without prior connections, he could still make friends if he applied himself. Wade resolved that with sufficient effort, he should be able to form a reliable team. Suddenly, a voice apologized, mentioning that someone on the team felt apprehensive about Wade. Fragn stepped forward, declaring they wouldn't party with Wade after what he did to train. Fragn acknowledged Wade's strength, but stated their team was already full, offering a polite refusal. Wade worried that no teacher would take pity on him and that he couldn't graduate without a party. He feared ending up back in his previous, bleak existence. Wade felt he had no place to turn, lamenting his continuous string of losses. Ice explained her reasoning. Wade responded with a simple, questioning sound. Fragn asked Ice if she would join him, but she hesitated. Fragn identified Ice as a talented water magic user, known for her speed. He then pointed out another girl who had been bullied by Ice since day one. Fragn boasted that Ice's ice magic was useless without his water magic, yet still offered her a place in his party. Wade arrived and asked what was happening, recognizing Ice. Fragn insulted Wade, telling him not to interfere. Wade calmly stated he hadn't interrupted. Fragn accused Wade of being arrogant despite his slum origins, especially after defeating Brain. Wade demanded a clear answer about Fragn's intentions. Fragn declared he was inviting Ice to his party and told Wade to leave. Ice hesitated, her voice trembling slightly. She looked at Wade, asking if he would consider teaming up with her. Ice nervously repeated her question, hoping Wade would agree to form a team. Fragn burst into laughter, finding Ice's request amusing. Fragn scoffed, wondering why any mage besides a water specialist would ally with an ice mage. Wade instantly accepted Ice's offer. Fragn's eyes widened at Wade's quick agreement. Wade solidified their partnership, ending the discussion. Wade introduced himself as a gravity mage, and Ice followed suit. Clay thanked Wade and Ice for allowing him to join their party. Wade urged them to give their all in the dungeon, and Ice echoed his sentiment. The instructor announced the graduation exam would commence in a few days, restricting students to the first dungeon layer and requiring them to defeat 3 monsters before returning. He warned them against descending to the second floor, to retreat if teamwork faltered, and to return immediately if injured. Wade raised a hand, questioning the necessity of such strict precautions. The instructor conceded Wade's point about prior monster battle experience, but maintained the need for caution. He continued, explaining, "I understand your point. However..." A monster let out a startled shriek. The monster's attack was abruptly halted. Wade exhaled in relief after the unexpected encounter. Ice marveled at Wade's newfound ability, noting how he manipulated the air itself to fight with such ease. Ice revealed a new spell she had recently mastered, her eyes gleaming with anticipation. Wade explained he had encountered a lone goblin and saw it as the perfect chance to test his new skills. Clay inquired about the name of the new spell Wade had just employed. Wade studied the new spell, quietly murmuring weight down to himself. He clarified that it was a gravity spell that reduced weight, rather than increasing it. Wade grinned, thrilled by how much easier tasks would become with this new power. Clay declared his readiness, eager to put his skills to the test. He was eager to discover what this new spell could accomplish. Wade activated the weight down spell. He gasped, exclaiming, "Whoa, what the?" He marveled at the sudden, incredible lightness he felt. Wade wondered if this was akin to walking on the moon, realizing he needed time to adjust to the sensation. He decided to try the next spell, then yelped, "Whoa!" Fragne's surprise flickered across his face. Wade nodded, taking the shopkeeper's words to heart. The shopkeeper revealed his earlier maneuver had used a lightness spell. This spell, he added, had been combined with a weight boost. He then complimented Wade and Ice on their impressive performance. Clay slumped to the ground, admitting his utter exhaustion. Wade asked the shopkeeper his name, then reacted with disbelief. Fragne's voice held a hint of disappointment as he asked if Wade remembered him at all. The shopkeeper dismissed them, saying he forgot people he wasn't close to, calling them weaklings. Ice apologized to Clay, explaining Wade was an oddball. Wade readily agreed that he was indeed an oddball. Clay announced himself as the Earth Mage. He stated his name and that he wielded Earth magic. Ice shyly introduced herself as an Ice magic user. Wade mused about Clay being the Earth Mage. He found it amusing how Clay's name perfectly suited his Earth magic. Fragne admitted he wasn't in much of a position to talk either, then trailed off, mentioning Wade's full name. Wade began to reflect on their recent experiences. He recalled the terrifying Manticore encounter and how close they had come to death. Wade questioned why parties of only 2 people were even permitted. He explained that dungeons were dangerous mazes where adventurers were allowed to enter despite the high risks. Wade prepared to offer a simpler explanation of the dungeon's nature. Wade mused that entering a dungeon meant guaranteed death, and the world had no intention of letting anyone achieve that easily. Clay explained that entering a dungeon with fewer than 3 people was essentially a death sentence. He acknowledged that dungeons were indeed cruel and malicious places. Ice tilted her head, asking Wade what he meant by that. Wade explained that they banned going into dungeons alone because it was the rule that most effectively cut down deaths. He elaborated that if one person got seriously injured alone, they would die, but with 2, the other could pull them out, decreasing fatalities. A woman with a small creature on her shoulder confronted a man, telling him he was only making things worse for Wade and always getting in his way. She continued, stating that while she could help herself, Wade was different, and someone like him would just break him. She pleaded with him to make a promise. Ice warned him to stay away from Wade, or she might resort to drastic measures. Fragne threatened Wade, hinting he would inflict a regret he'd carry forever. The man relented, stating he understood. Clay found reading tedious, urging them to get moving. Fragne snatched the sewing kit from Wade, vowing to dispose of it for him. He sneered, calling needlework a dismal pastime. Fragne threatened to help Wade abandon this foolishness. Fragne blamed Ice again, claiming he wouldn't deal with her if not for Drop. Ice whispered Drop's name, her expression clouded with worry. Wade shrugged, stating any place would suit him, unbothered by the choice of location. Ice contemplated going somewhere far removed from Drop's influence. Clay questioned if Groot truly intended to leave. Clay voiced his concern for Ice's safety. Ice assured Clay she would manage, despite the area being rife with rough slum kids. Ice confessed her fervent desire to become an adventurer and reach a place far from Drop. The shopkeeper acknowledged Ice's deep longing. The shopkeeper urged Ice to give her best, reminding her to eat, rest, and seek aid when needed. Wade beamed with anticipation for the future, feeling an unshakable certainty. Wade offered a silent, grateful nod to his father, a quiet moment of thanks amid the rising tension. He felt capable of achieving anything, provided he kept his distance from Drop. Suddenly, a voice called out, "Wade!" Wade noticed several unsavory individuals from the slums, but paid them no mind. He then spotted Ice, commenting on her unexpected presence. Ice stammered, caught off guard and bewildered by Drop's sudden appearance. Drop declared her own decision to become an adventurer in order to gain strength and learn self-defense. She explained she would work as a traveling merchant while striving toward her goals. Wade spotted a cow, announced his hunger, offered it some food, and then asked about the other person's condition. The shopkeeper presented Wade with a weapon, thanking him for his business. Drop claimed a particular bed for herself, assigned another to Ice, and then made another offer. Drop ordered Ice to cease her arguing and pointless thoughts, commanding her to simply comply. Wade considered the brutal realities of adventuring. Fragn grumbled that Wade's presence jeopardized his own claim to top student. Wade's gaze sharpened. Clay finalized the party, with Ice as the sixth and final member, warning her to stay close. Ice retorted that she no longer wanted to follow orders. Clay demanded Ice obey him, but her hesitation prompted him to ask what she thought she was doing. Wade introduced himself as Wade, a gravity mage, and offered a greeting. Ice shyly introduced herself. Wade's words held a conviction that resonated deeply. She remembered how Wade, despite his slow magic, had defeated a fire mage. That victory showed her true strength wasn't just about magic, and it gave her courage. Ice confessed Wade's encouragement had inspired her to start weight training, finally believing in herself. She also mentioned Wade had helped her separate herself from Drop-chan. Everything. Every little thing. Ice declared it was all thanks to Wade. The shopkeeper presented his offer, asking if it wasn't a good deal. He admitted he didn't think Wade was amazing, which was why he was making this suggestion. The shopkeeper urged Wade to just give the offer a try. Fragn taunted Ice, offering to try out Wade if he proved boring, then graciously lend him over. Fragn continued his taunt, asking Ice if she was okay with his offer, as his words seemed to trigger her magic. Ice unleashed an ice blow in response to Fragn's provocation. Fragn demanded to know what Ice was doing, reminding her that he only wanted a yes in response. Ice cried out in surprise as Fragn's magic took hold. A sudden shriek echoed through the dungeon. Fragn yelled at Ice, asking what she thought she was doing and warning her not to mess with him. Fragn grunted in surprise as he suddenly found himself unable to move. Fragn questioned what was happening, bewildered as to why he couldn't move his body. Ice explained Wade's advice had helped her use her magic more effectively. She had been experimenting with various methods to utilize her ice magic. Her ice magic caused things to stick firmly to surfaces. Clay gasped, startled by a sudden noise. Ice playfully demonstrated her magic on Clay, who yelped in protest. Clay pleaded with Ice to stop as she pinned his shoulder to the ground. She showed him how his body was now stuck fast to the floor. Clay nervously called out to Ice, his voice trembling slightly. He begged Ice to stop joking and release him from her icy grip. Ice responded with a questioning tone, asking if he thought she was joking. Wade questioned the source of the sound. Ice accused Clay of shutting down her hobbies and dismissing their importance. She felt Clay was disregarding her entire personality. Ice accused Fragn of wanting her to remain a slave forever. She then questioned if Fragn was trying to steal Wade from her. Ice demanded that Fragn stop his actions. Fragn cried out that he did not want this situation. Ice sharply told Fragn not to raise his voice. Fragn snarled, his voice laced with disgust, hating Wade's secretive tone. Fragn muffled a protest. Ice addressed Fragn, calling him Drop-chan. She expressed her happiness at having met Wade. Ice praised Wade's amazing nature and his perseverance despite his terrible magic. She stated that Wade would only continue to grow more powerful. Ice warned Fragn that staying near Wade would only make things worse for him. She accused Fragn of deliberately getting in her way and declared that someone like Fragn would break Wade. Wade heard the plea, a promise demanded from someone desperate. Fragn threatened Ice, warning her to stay away from Wade. Regret washed over Fragn. A hesitant agreement followed. Clay declared his understanding, his voice firming with resolve. He vowed to keep his distance from Wade, a difficult promise to make. The captive pleaded for release, shivering and in pain from the biting cold. Wade watched the captive, his expression thoughtful. He questioned the captive's sincerity, sensing a hidden motive. Wade recalled that Drop-chan always smiled when telling a lie. Ice looked bewildered by Fragn's sudden outburst. Wade confronted the captive, accusing them of planning to deceive him. The captive swore they spoke the truth, promising to stay away from Wade. Wade pondered the harsh realities of becoming an adventurer, questioning his own readiness. He continued to wrestle with his thoughts, caught in an internal debate. Suddenly, a voice called out to him, expressing a chilling sentiment. The voice proposed freezing him and shattering him into pieces, leaving no trace. Wade could only react with a bewildered sound. Ice cried out, pleading for forgiveness and rejecting the situation. A powerful ice spell, Ice Blow, was unleashed. A desperate plea followed, begging for the attack to cease. The captive confessed their fault, apologizing profusely to Ice. They promised never to approach Wade again, taking full responsibility. The pleas intensified, a clear refusal of the current situation. A challenging question was posed: how would they prove their sincerity? Stammering, the captive struggled to formulate an answer, admitting their inability to respond. Ice unleashed a powerful blast of frost. Clay winced, clearly uncomfortable with the confrontation. A terrified voice cried out, "No! I don't want to die." The plea intensified, "I don't want to die. I really don't want to die." A calm voice responded, "Then you'd better think about it." The question followed, "What are you going to do?" The captive stammered, "Drop-chan, and how are you going to show me proof that you'd stay away from Wade-kun?" A faint sound of something dropping. A desperate shout declared, "I'll throw it all away." Ice declared she was quitting the training school and abandoning her adventurer dreams. The captive realized, in that way, I won't be able to get close to Wade. They continued, "So, that's fine, right? Geez, I've had a no GH of both scary monsters and dungeons." Wade grimaced, recalling the chilling threat of Ice's magic. He admitted he no longer wanted to face such dangers. Wade sighed, a sound of weary resignation. The shopkeeper urged him to leave quickly. He offered to pack Wade's belongings and deliver them later. The merchant impatiently repeated his demand for Wade to hurry. Wade grunted in frustration. He agreed to leave, but asked the shopkeeper to stop glaring, calling it scary. Ice marveled that she could finally win an argument against Drop-chan. She felt relieved that Drop-chan was finally gone. Ice credited Wade for giving her the courage to stand up for herself. She giggled. Ice thought Wade was truly incredible. Clay looked at Wade. Clay dropped to the ground. A note declared that the man with slow magic would become unparalleled with gravity magic. The shopkeeper greeted them, listing off his wares from kitchen knives to greatswords, armor to chains. A table displayed various chapter titles, suggesting a progression through different stages of training. Ice commented that the shop seemed to welcome anyone, noting it was likely for trainees. Wade wondered where Clay had gone, as he had apparently arrived before them. Wade asked where Clay had gone. Clay called out to them from across the room, waving them over. The shopkeeper eyed Wade's armor, inquiring about its origin. Ice excitedly asked Wade if the new armor suited her, mentioning she bought it, because he asked her to join them. The shopkeeper enthusiastically welcomed them, boasting about his wide selection of weapons and armor. Wade hesitated, concerned about the armor's high price, while the shopkeeper questioned their unusual appearance. Ice complimented Clay, saying the armor suited him, but Wade seemed unsure about discussing such things. Wade suggested they enter the shop, and Clay agreed, eager to look around. The shopkeeper observed them curiously. The shopkeeper noted that they didn't turn away any customers and mentioned hearing about trainees. Wade wondered where Clay had gone, as he had been there first. Wade looked around, asking where Clay had disappeared to. Clay called out to Wade and Ice, beckoning them over. The shopkeeper greeted them warmly. The shopkeeper recognized Wade's party and offered them a special discount. The shopkeeper chuckled, assuring them he'd be counting on their business. He then announced that their evaluation would begin shortly. Wade noticed Ice's new armor. Ice shyly asked Wade if the new armor suited her, admitting she bought it because he invited her. The shopkeeper pointed out a rare poisoned goblin knife, asking for their opinion on it. He then asked what they thought of the weapon's potential. The shopkeeper offered them a good deal on the knife, thanking them for their interest. Wade instructed Ice and Clay to pick out what they needed, agreeing to meet up once they were finished. Clay confirmed the plan and decided to look around the shop. Ice wondered if the armor was expensive and how to return it if needed, then noticed Wade and Clay seemed distracted. The shopkeeper complimented Clay's choice, noting its popularity but also its unique flair. Wade suggested they enter the store and Ice agreed. Wade responded with a questioning "Oh." Clay explained that Drop had left the training school a few days prior, which led him to join their party. Wade mused that Drop's sudden departure after working so hard for second place felt like a waste. Ice countered that after encountering something dangerous, she couldn't blame Drop for quitting to survive. Wade then hesitantly began to speak, saying, listen. The shopkeeper greeted them warmly, exclaiming, "Welcome." He recognized Wade's party and offered them a discount on their purchases. Wade expressed his gratitude, chuckling, "Ha ha ha, thank you very much." Ice immediately used appraisal on her new armor. The shopkeeper pointed out a rare item, asking if it was a poisoned goblin knife. He then turned to Wade and asked for his opinion on the item. Wade agreed to buy it, asking for some color to be added and thanking the shopkeeper. Wade suggested they each pick out their weapons and regroup, and Ice and Clay readily agreed. Ice announced she was heading off first. Wade reflected that it had been 2 or 3 days since they left the training school, and their party seemed to be falling apart, but Clay had ended up joining them. He recalled that Drop had suddenly quit even though she had made it to second place, which he thought was a waste. Wade acknowledged that if someone encountered a dangerous situation, their life would take priority, and they might have no choice but to quit. Clay stammered an explanation to Wade. Clay nervously suggested he'd be happy if they could decide on their weapon choices together. Wade agreed, admitting he didn't know if he had a good eye for weapons, but Clay thanked him profusely. Clay expressed his gladness for Wade's agreement. Wade then proposed they choose a weapon for Ice first, as his own was already half decided. Clay chuckled, remarking that there wasn't much to consider. Wade stated that Ice would likely be best served with a weapon capable of channeling magic. Wade considered a weapon with a long reach, thinking a lighter one would be ideal. The shopkeeper explained that applying an ice blow to a sword would have the same effect as touching with ice. Ice agreed with Wade's assessment, giving an enthusiastic thumbs up. The shopkeeper chuckled, thanking Wade for his consideration. He explained that the weapon's purpose was to deliver cold air, not just for slashing, making it a well-thought-out strategy. The shopkeeper elaborated that if delivering cold air was the main goal, a rapier or foil would be better than a saber due to ease of handling. Wade considered this, thinking that perhaps a foil might work. However, Wade noted that foils were typically used by nobles, and that orichalcum ones were too expensive, while ordinary metal versions were too brittle for exploration. He added that foils were usually reserved for duels, and he wasn't sure if they were appropriate. Wade mentioned that rapiers were similar to foils, but generally stronger. The shopkeeper prepared 2 sets of armor, assuring Ice she would be safe even in an emergency. The shopkeeper offered 2 inexpensive options, assuring Wade they were good choices even for temporary use. Ice thanked Wade, valuing his opinion. Wade waved away her thanks, saying it was no bother. He then inquired about a defensive weapon for his left hand. Wade specifically requested a parrying dagger that wouldn't hinder his agility. Presenting a weapon, the shopkeeper asked for Wade's assessment. Wade recognized the item as a mace. The shopkeeper explained it was heavy, but could amplify magic, a detail that intrigued Wade. Wade decided on 2 rapiers and the mace, much to the shopkeeper's satisfaction. Wade then asked Ice to assist him in selecting his next weapon. Ice readily agreed, suggesting they choose it together once more. Clay approached, observing that Wade and Ice also sought heavy weapons, and that Ice was helping him. Ice clarified that she couldn't wield anything as heavy as the weapons Clay was considering. Clay accepted this, acknowledging Ice wasn't built for such cumbersome gear. He then expressed surprise that Wade would also opt for a heavy weapon. Wade mused that his magic was the key to wielding such items. The shopkeeper chuckled at Wade's peculiar choices. Ice gasped in surprise. Ice apologized, then asked Wade to clarify which magic he meant, recalling it was gravity magic. She admitted she had been distracted by rumors, but now realized she needed to study gravity magic to prevent future mistakes. The shopkeeper asked Clay if he was purchasing a weapon, but Clay replied his current one was still superior. The shopkeeper offered Wade his expertise with heavy weapons. Another voice chimed in, also offering assistance. Ice declared she would browse alongside Wade. The shopkeeper eyed Wade's frame, appearing hesitant. Wade mumbled an apology. Someone commented that Wade was well loved, then quickly corrected themselves, stating that wasn't the case. The person apologized again, explaining Ice was sensitive and shouldn't be misjudged. The shopkeeper considered hammers and metal clubs, but Wade preferred a weapon that could cut. He listed options like a buster sword or a claymore, both two-handed. The shopkeeper suggested a claymore for Wade and Clay, noting its ease of handling, though Wade wished it were heavier. The shopkeeper paused, hearing Wade's remark. The shopkeeper explained the weapon was too large, better suited for vast dungeon halls than Wade's needs. He inquired if the rumor of Wade favoring heavier weapons held any truth. Wade clarified his magic could lighten even the heaviest gear, a fact the shopkeeper accepted. The shopkeeper revealed the claymore was crafted by a former trainee, Creeder, a blacksmith. He noted the weapon's immense size had kept it unsold for years. Wade contemplated the harsh realities of adventuring life. The merchant voiced his pride in advising trainees and equipping them with suitable weapons. The shopkeeper admitted he hadn't yet determined Wade's ideal gear, hoping the student would reveal his true strength. He asked Wade to swing a sword, stating that if he could lift and handle it, it would suffice. Wade readied himself to demonstrate his power. The shopkeeper then offered the sword to Wade free of charge. Wade reacted with surprise, asking if such an offer was truly acceptable. Ice observed Wade's visible delight. The shopkeeper laughed, teasing Wade for looking childish despite his composed expression, and reaffirmed his offer. Wade felt the sword's considerable weight in his hands. Wade grunted with the exertion. The shopkeeper erupted in laughter. The shopkeeper explained his magic had aided Wade, but he hadn't anticipated the student grabbing it with one hand. He mused that if Wade were to swing it right then, things might become interesting. Wade's successful one-handed lift impressed the shopkeeper, who then offered the sword, saying Wade could take it if he liked it. Ice commented that Wade was more emotional than she had imagined, admitting she had pictured him as cooler. Wade requested a weapon usable in tighter spaces where the larger one couldn't be swung. The shopkeeper announced these were the items Wade had chosen. Wade declared he was all set and thanked the shopkeeper. Ice asked Clay what he would get, and he replied he'd take 3 items, as he was fine with the armor he'd bought previously. The shopkeeper confirmed their purchases and asked how they wanted to handle the price deduction for the poisoned goblin knife. Clay suggested deducting half the price from each of their purchases. Ice protested, refusing to do that. She questioned why they couldn't split the cost, reminding Clay that the goblin was one they had defeated together. Wade's gaze lingered on the shopkeeper, the man's words about becoming an adventurer ringing in his ears. The shopkeeper mentioned Wade defeating someone, but Wade insisted Ice and Clay had been crucial to his success. Ice shifted, uncertain how to react to the shopkeeper's blunt assessment. The shopkeeper declared he had decided on his purchase and apologized for any inconvenience. Wade stammered, stunned by the shopkeeper's assumption. "Lovers?" Clay clapped his hands together, a wide grin spreading across his face. Ice firmly stated she would have her way and leave things as they were. The shopkeeper remarked it seemed difficult for Ice to control Wade, wishing her luck. He then suggested to Wade that if he wasn't satisfied, they could go on a date and Wade could pay. Wade flinched back, completely bewildered. A date? Fragn quickly clarified that his previous statement was merely a joke. Wade rushed to Ice's side, asking if she was all right. Ice giggled, finding the situation amusing. Wade recalled his initial excitement, realizing the world of adventurers was far harsher than he had imagined. Wade's party readied their gear for the upcoming exam. Ice examined her new rapiers and mace, testing their balance. The shopkeeper looked up, surprised by something he saw. Clay hefted his weapon, a heavy straight sword, feeling its weight. A guttural roar echoed through the dungeon as a monster attacked. Wade mused that if attacked unexpectedly, one might mistake themselves for the enemy. Ice unleashed an ice blow attack. Ice followed with a powerful quake. Clay cheered enthusiastically. Clay exclaimed how amazing it was to defeat enemies so smoothly. Clay described their coordinated attack. Wade's slash created an opening, Ice froze the enemies, and he finished them off. Wade admitted he was happy with the formation, but hadn't expected it to be so effective. Clay added that the gauntlet he bought also worked quite well. Wade thanked Ice for her help in refining his strategy. Ice offered a quiet, thoughtful hum in response. But then the situation shifted unexpectedly. Wade felt they had learned enough from their dive and suggested they leave as his concentration wavered. Clay agreed, admitting they had been exploring for quite some time. Clay mentioned hearing of adventurers who spent days reaching silver rank, but they should depart now, as it wasn't for everyone. The shopkeeper cautiously asked Clay if he came from a wealthy family. Clay confirmed he was the 3rd son of a baron. The shopkeeper exclaimed in surprise, calling Clay a mobile man and asking if he was a noble. Clay reassured the shopkeeper not to be intimidated, saying it was nothing special. Wade marveled at the shopkeeper's brush with nobility and the fantastical magic he had witnessed. Ice mused about nobles, only knowing of a powerful magic user who seemed very important. The shopkeeper explained that barons were the lowest hereditary noble rank, while the magic user hailed from an earl's family. Ice then asked about the exact standing of an earl. The shopkeeper estimated an earl sat somewhere in the middle of the noble hierarchy. He clarified that nobles were relatives of royalty or long-serving royal vassals, with earls ranking second highest. The shopkeeper added that barons were just above knights, who couldn't inherit titles and served only one generation. The shopkeeper concluded that the noble world seemed a harsh place for those within it. The shopkeeper then asked Wade if he intended to lead their party, surprising him. Ice urged Wade to remain their leader, assuring him she had confidence in him. Wade mused that it was just a party until graduation, so leadership wasn't truly significant yet. He then admitted he did have something on his mind. Wade pondered what kind of adventurer he would become after graduation. The shopkeeper described the first path, the sword adventurer, who wins wars and protects villages through combat. He explained the second path, the archer adventurer, who hunts monsters and delivers their corpses to the guild. The third path, the torch adventurer, involved exploring dungeons, hunting treasure, and surviving without needing to kill, calling it the strictest dream. Ice asked Wade if he wasn't going to eat, warning that their instructor would be displeased. Wade considered his post-graduation path, admitting he had not yet fully decided. Wade confirmed he was contemplating his future adventurer role, noting he could switch later, but felt uncertain. Clay declared he would simply follow Wade's lead after graduation. Ice questioned if Wade was attending the training camp solely to achieve a specific goal. Wade admitted he had run away from home, citing displeasure and a desire for discipline. Clay nodded, understanding Wade's explanation. Clay admitted he had also run away from home, enjoying his freedom but feeling lost about the future. Wade explained his past life as a businessman was a choice of convenience, not passion. He recalled a past life where overwork led to his demise, leaving him utterly alone. Wade then asked Clay about his plans after graduation. Clay declared his lifelong ambition was to become a hero. Ice softly questioned Clay's aspiration. Clay affirmed his dream, stating he planned to become a torch adventurer. Clay suggested Wade could also become a torch adventurer if he hadn't decided on his future. Ice began to extend an invitation to Wade but hesitated. Clay interrupted, telling Ice Wade's future was his own decision and she shouldn't impose. Wade apologized for the spontaneous invitation, explaining he had planned to ask them all but now felt hesitant. Ice acknowledged Wade's reflection, indicating she understood his concerns. Wade mused that Ice was a strange girl, respecting him too much for their sudden party. Clay observed that Wade seemed genuinely troubled. Clay stated it was good for Wade to live his life as he pleased. Wade wondered if that was truly the way he wanted to live, resolving to find something he loved first. Ice teased Wade, pointing out that he worried about immature things too. Wade told her not to tease him, admitting he still had growing up to do and was smaller than her just months ago. Wade then remembered a crucial detail about his situation. Ice chuckled, wishing they had spoken to each other back then. Clay exclaimed in disbelief that Wade could have been that small. The objective to defeat more than 10 bandits had been completed. Wade reviewed the graduation requirements: 3 magic skills, 2 learned skills, and completion of bronze rank monster submissions. He also noted the dungeon requirement, reaching the 5th floor, though they were currently on the 4th. Ice mused that tomorrow's exam meant graduation, ready or not. Clay agreed, feeling a pang of loneliness despite knowing they wouldn't truly say goodbye. Ice reflected that 6 months had passed, feeling both long and short, then turned to Wade. Wade mused aloud about his future path, a hint of uncertainty in his tone. Ice admitted she had tried swords, bows, and torches, finding them all enjoyable. Ice confessed that the fun made it impossible to decide which path to choose. She then laughed, admitting she didn't want to commit to just one path. Clay reassured her that she didn't need to worry too much, as each exam had different content, and she didn't have to give up one to pursue another. The shopkeeper suggested Wade himself could likely pursue swords, bows, and torches. Clay marveled that Wade had nearly met all the requirements for each adventurer's certificate. Wade confirmed only 2 requirements remained, expressing his desire to complete them. Wade pondered awakening new magic on the 5th floor, knowing he might perform a miracle. Ice offered Wade encouragement for his upcoming exam, which he gratefully accepted. The sound of dancing echoed as the training session concluded, and their instructor told them to go home. The instructor bid everyone farewell, saying they would see each other tomorrow. Wade noticed someone at the training ground, wondering if it was Fuka. A voice called out Wade's name, startling him. Ice approached Wade, curious after seeing him heading outside, and asked if he was reminiscing. Frang appeared, curious about what Wade was contemplating. Frang stepped forward, suggesting they have a little chat. Wade asked if Ice had packed her bags, to which she confirmed she had, bringing only weapons and clothes. Ice explained she had arrived wearing nothing but rags, implying she needed new attire. Ice offered to help Wade if he wasn't finished packing, but then hesitated. Wade chuckled, reminding Ice she couldn't enter the boys' dorm, and she agreed. Ice expressed a lingering sentiment, but ultimately looked forward to them becoming true adventurers. Wade confirmed Ice's observation, asking if she was worried about him. Ice admitted she felt a bit worried about their future endeavors. She reassured Wade that things would somehow work out, and he shouldn't worry too much. Ice exclaimed in surprise as Wade patted her head, her voice filled with delight. Wade apologized, asking if she disliked the gesture, his brow furrowed slightly. Ice quickly denied disliking it, eagerly inviting Wade to pet her head as much as he wanted. Wade questioned Ice if she truly wanted to follow him, stating he had no intention of tying her down. Ice insisted that following him was precisely what she wanted, emphasizing she wasn't being modest at all. The shopkeeper confirmed Wade's request was acceptable, his tone casual. He then recalled Clay's aspiration to become a hero, prompting a thoughtful response. He then turned to Ice, asking what she wanted to be, his voice laced with surprise. Ice hesitated, a blush creeping onto her cheeks. She mumbled that her aspiration was a secret. The shopkeeper chuckled, confirming it was indeed a secret. He then proposed he'd reveal it if she performed well on her graduation exam. Wade laughed, agreeing they'd both have to work hard for that. He mused that while Ice and Clay had clear goals, he still lacked direction and wasn't sure what he enjoyed. Wade then asked Ice if everyone had enjoyed the on-the-job training. Wade agreed, realizing Clay would soon discover his true path. The shopkeeper reassured Wade there was no need to rush his decision. Wade thanked him, admitting Ice always encouraged him. He then reminded them the exam was scheduled for the very next day. Wade suggested they get a good night's sleep before their exam, rather than being overly anxious. Ice readily agreed with Wade's sensible plan. Ice bid Wade good night, her voice carrying a hint of affection. Wade recalled a touching moment from his adolescence, a time of youthful uncertainty. He realized they had perhaps forgotten the inherent dangers of adventuring. A voice announced the commencement of their graduation exam, signaling the start of the challenge. Wade explained that reaching the 5th floor was the requirement for a copper torch adventurer. He proposed they descend any staircases they found, but immediately return. Clay affirmed this strategy, calling it the safest option. Wade noted they had reached the 4th floor and urged them to proceed carefully. Wade felt his strength surge. He unleashed a powerful uppercut. Wade declared he would handle this alone. A heavy blow landed, and Wade grunted in pain. He followed up with a heavy body blow. Wade gritted his teeth in exertion. Clay waved goodbye, promising to see Wade later. Wade declared his stance with a determined, "Wade straight." Ice apologized for missing their turn, relieved to finally relax. Wade managed a weak smile, thanking Ice for her support. Ice noted Wade's hidden strength, acknowledging he handled everything, which Wade agreed with. Ice explained they had been cautiously exploring the fourth floor until something happened. Ice hesitated, then asked Wade for his opinion on their current situation. Ice anticipated Wade might think the fourth floor wasn't enough and that they should aim for the fifth floor or higher. Ice paused, then stated, "But." Clay agreed with Ice, emphasizing that Wade, as the leader, would make the final decision, and they would follow him. Wade considered their agreement to return immediately upon reaching the fifth floor, recognizing the limited benefit of delving deeper as trainees. The shopkeeper mused that guild quests would be more profitable than risking one's life for pride. Ice chuckled, teasing Wade about his predictable reaction. Clay laughed, agreeing with Wade's idea and stating it gave him more confidence to continue as leader. The group descended stairs leading down to the fifth floor of the dungeon. Wade cautioned them to proceed carefully, and Clay confirmed he understood. Wade observed that the fifth floor didn't look much different from the ones above. Wade confirmed his understanding of the objective: retreat. Suddenly, Ice exclaimed in surprise. Fragn sneered, recognizing Wade and asking if they were his party. Fragn's name appeared, his presence immediately souring the air. Fragn accused them of following him, his voice laced with suspicion. Clay shot back, questioning the absurdity of Fragn's accusation. Fragn insisted, his anger escalating. Ice cut Fragn off, telling him to stop his foolishness. Fragn suddenly appeared, interrupting Wade's actions. Ice defended Wade, stating he wouldn't stoop to such tactics. Ice noted Wade's group had already reached the fifth floor, while Fragn continued to seethe. Fragn angrily told Ice to stop arguing. Fragn apologized for his companion's outburst, but Wade waved it away. Wade simply asked Fragn to let them pass. Wade called out to Fragn, who turned in surprise. Reaching the fifth floor is the requirement for the Copper Adventure badge, though exploring it yields little. Fragn sneered, questioning Wade's group and their understanding of the exam. He accused Wade of becoming too cocky. Fragn then laughed, noting Wade had become just like him, which was far better than his previous attitude. Wade acknowledged Fragn's presence, remarking it was nice to see him show up. Fragn dismissed the pleasantries, stating he didn't want to be overly familiar. Fragn ordered Wade to leave, as his group was moving on and Wade should get out of their way. Wade questioned Fragn's rude attitude, asking if only ill-mannered people became adventurers. Clay suggested they return, announcing they were now Copper Torch adventurers. Ice expressed slight worry about Wade's group, though acknowledged that was a separate issue. A guttural roar echoed through the dungeon. Ice urgently warned Wade to run, recognizing a scream and Fragn's group nearby. Wade immediately declared a change of plans. A companion acknowledged the leader's excellent judgment to back up friends in danger. A voice called out, pointing over there. The same voice urgently repeated, "Over there." A sudden sharp cry pierced the air. A monster was identified as a chimera. Someone recognized the chimera as one of the dungeon's bosses, expressing disbelief. A nervous laugh escaped someone who wondered if they could handle the chimera. Wade addressed Fragn, announcing their arrival to help. Fragn scoffed, accusing them of coming because they heard screams and calling them idiots who would also die. Wade declared he would worry about dying after trying to help, promising to provide support. Wade considered the priority of rescuing AI, but then conceded to do as he pleased. Ice declared they had to defeat the monster to proceed, launching a fire arrow. Fragn grunted in frustration. Fragn taunted Wade about his slow magic, urging him to speed up his attacks against the monsters. Wade rebuked Fragn, telling him not to issue commands. Wade declared he would act on his own terms. Fragn exclaimed it was his time to shine, then questioned if Wade's new gear was merely for show. Fragn repeated his question, wondering if Wade's equipment was purely ornamental. Wade readied himself for action. Clay rallied his friends, urging them to face the challenge ahead. The shopkeeper chided Wade for his impatience, asking if he could not wait a moment longer. Fragn scoffed, wondering if his previous attempt had been too shallow. Fragn commanded anyone still able to move to approach, planning to attack the chimera the instant it fell. Clay acknowledged the order with a simple "understood." Clay resigned himself to the situation, stating he would follow along since he had no other choice. Fragn called out to someone, his voice sharp. Fragn sternly told the person not to look away. Ice calmly instructed Wade to wait until the chimera's behavior shifted. Wade questioned if the strange phenomenon was a good sign. Fragn pointed out a goat-like creature, remarking on its presence. He then asked if the creature was moving its mouth. Fragn exclaimed that it was black magic, and they had to stop it. He explained that black magic, wielded by non-humans, was heretical and powerful, requiring immediate intervention. Fragn ordered his followers to target the goat-headed creature, while he took the lead. Fragn grumbled that there was no other choice and launched a fire arrow. Ice unleashed an ice blast. Ice reacted with surprise to the unfolding events. A sudden scream echoed through the dungeon. Another cry followed, laced with panic. Wade cursed as the situation clearly worsened. Clay rushed forward, calling out, "Ice, are you okay?" Ice gasped, struggling. I'm not sure I like this, Wade. Please." She weakly urged them, "Don't worry about me. Stop talking." Clay turned to Wade, pleading, "Can you do something about this?" Wade considered their options, suggesting, "Let's try giving her an antidote." He admitted with concern, however, "I don't know if it'll work on a boss's poison." Wade instructed Clay to give the girl the potion. Clay instructed them to move Ice to the edge and get her into a comfortable position. Fragn declared he and Wade would hold off the threat while keeping a close eye on Ice. Ice weakly assured Wade that she was truly all right. Wade told Ice she didn't need to pretend to be tough, acknowledging her and Clay's help in defeating the Chimera snake. He apologized. Ice added, "But at least." She then mentioned her ice blow. Ice thanked Wade and encouraged him to go for it. Clay assured Wade he would watch over Ice and the situation. Wade heard Fragn call his name. Wade scoffed, asking if they were done playing house yet. Ice mused that the upcoming challenge would be tough, but ultimately doable. Clay asked when they should strike, suggesting they wait for the Chimera to attack. Ice declared that if the Chimera lunged, she would handle it. Clay acknowledged that Ice's magic could create an opening during an attack. Ice planned to finish the monster off with her ice rapiers. Wade grumbled that it annoyed him how people only expected his fire magic, vowing to sneak in a fireball when the Chimera wasn't looking. Clay laughed, agreeing to leave that task to Wade as well. Wade explained that animal eyes excelled at tracking moving objects, as stationary targets quickly blended into the background. Ice shouted that the Chimera was coming. Clay echoed Ice's cry, warning that the Chimera was approaching. A surprised exclamation escaped Wade's lips. Fragn called out Wade's name. Wade grunted in pain. He cried out again. An arrow of fire flew towards him. Fragn shouted at Wade to get up, offering to buy him some time. Wade grunted, urging himself to get up, muttering thanks for the offered time. Fragn addressed Wade directly, his tone sharp. He questioned why someone was laughing, wondering if they had hit their head. Wade started to speak, his voice strained. He then asked if the person was laughing at him. Wade questioned why he endured so much pain. He wondered why his gut twisted with such agony. Wade questioned the true purpose of his journey. Wade acknowledged Fragon's words with a curt nod. He realized this was what he truly desired. After a fierce battle, the young adventurer awoke to his calling. Wade had initially believed all weapons were fundamentally the same. He conceded that, in a sense, his initial assumption held some truth. The shopkeeper reassured him, urging him not to worry and that there was no need to rush. Wade gasped, a realization dawning. He admitted his lifelong fascination with dangerous, potent fights. Wade questioned Fragon's statement, asking what he meant. Wade declared he would be content as long as lives were exchanged. He found himself drawn to life-threatening moments. This very moment was what he cherished most. Wade admitted that, in his current condition, he couldn't fight as he normally would. He wondered how he could possibly win against the chimera before him. Ice called out to him, asking if he was all right. Clay echoed her concern, inquiring if Wade was feeling okay. Wade insisted he felt fine. Wade realized he shouldn't be bound by stereotypes or conversations. He then stated he had more freedom now. Clay agreed that was good and suggested they proceed with that mindset. Wade muttered that the situation wasn't good and clicked his tongue in frustration. He questioned what he should do next. Clay called out to Wade, telling him to wait, but Wade ignored him. Wade decided there was no more time for waiting. He declared he would go first to face the chimera. Wade mused that gravity magic allowed one to become lighter than air. He then declared it was time to start fighting. Wade announced it was time to get to beating it up. Ice called out to Wade, her voice laced with concern. Wade, Ice, and Clay stood ready. Clay tilted his head, confusion clouding his expression. Wade gasped, his eyes wide with surprise. Ice stared, a question forming on her lips. Fragon blocked their path. Clay spotted the approaching figure, calling out to Fragon. Wade acknowledged the unwelcome arrival, muttering that he knew him. Ice immediately prepared her magic, shouting, "Fire arrow!" The graduation exam began. The shopkeeper yelled that only the lion head was left, then cursed at someone. He continued to curse at the person. Wade exclaimed that it was way too dangerous. Someone shouted a warning. Wade questioned if they were flying from the wind pressure. Wade grumbled that his training had become dull. Ice felt a new magic awakening within her. Wade challenged Fragon to finish their fight. Ice declared goodbye to the chimera. Ice announced her new magic would bring its end. The shopkeeper activated his object weighed-up skill. Clay cried out that the exam wasn't over yet. The shopkeeper pointed to a sword, noting its weight-increasing properties. He declared that this victory was his own.